Well, yes, according to the doctors inside the Shifa hospital, three premature babies died because of the lack of fuel. Of course, the machines are not operating in such units. Also, a number of people were killed. Those people were inside the intensive care unit inside the Shifa hospital. Actually, now the Shifa hospital is like the besieged besieged medical complex in Gaza. The people who are inside the hospital, and they are estimated between 30 to 35,000. They are stuck inside the hospital. They cannot move in. No people can, they cannot move in or out of the hospital, and of course they are suffering the lack of fuel, electricity, water, food, medicine and medical supplies. The Israeli troops are now operating in some of the main streets of Gaza city. Even the some of the attacks that happened overnight today on buildings and homes in Gaza, even though these homes are very close to the Shifa hospital, the ambulances could not even reach those people. They did not evacuate the people under the rubble. One of the airstrikes actually hit the Nakhal family home, which is in Abu Hasira street. This street is just 200 meters away from Shifa hospital, and this happened 12 hours ago. And until now, we're getting urgent calls from the people who were stuck under the rubble, and the ambulances cannot get to them, and they cannot get out to the Shifa hospital. This explains how the situation is inside the Gaza city.
Gaza's border authority announced the Rafah border crossing will open today. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, yes, both the Egyptian side and the Palestinian side here in Gaza announced that the border will be opened today to allow hundreds of people who are holding other nationalities, dual nationalities, European, American, and especially also the Egyptians here in Gaza, allowing them to evacuate the Gaza Strip and to leave Gaza to Egypt. The border was closed over the past 2 days, and the reason why is because Egypt did not allow more injuries to get out from Gaza, so the border was closed for now. The people actually on the ground are hoping that Egypt will keep this border open, not only to allow foreigners to leave Gaza, but also to allow people that with moderate to serious injuries to leave the Gaza Strip, because actually the hospitals here, the system has totally collapsed. The hospital cannot treat those people, those injured here in Gaza. At the same time, they're hoping that Egypt will continuously allow the humanitarian aid in Gaza, especially that the situation here in Gaza is just worsening, and the humanitarian situation is just going from bad to worse, especially with this very wide-scale land invasion, Israeli land invasion on the coastal enclave.
Thank you, Noor Harazeen, live in Gaza. Let's now go to Stephanie Freid, who is also live in Tel Aviv. Stephanie, Israel's military says Hamas has lost control of the northern region of the Gaza Strip, and the armed wing of Hamas says it destroyed a number of Israeli military targets. What are the objectives of Israel's operation now?
Well, Martin, the objectives remain the same in terms of Israel saying in a very vague terms that it wants to eradicate Hamas, wipe out Hamas. And right now, the immediate future, as you said, Israel's military spokesperson has said that they control, Israel, meaning Israel, they control the northern Gaza Strip. What we're hearing, fierce fighting between the sides, and that's been ongoing for several days. A number of Israeli casualties when they were hit by a booby-trapped tunnel, it seems, that exploded, so several casualties in that instance. Slowly, the Israeli army is advancing on the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City, again reminding that is very much understood to be the nerve center of Hamas command and control of its underground network, that hospital, both inside the hospital and beneath the hospital. What we're also understanding, in keeping with what Noor is talking about in the south, is that in the hospital, Israel's military is coordinating with the hospital director. And that's not something the director can actually say publicly because of the implications vis-a-vis Hamas controlling the Strip. But they're coordinating to evacuate people out of the eastern side of the city and get them out of the hospital, get them out of Gaza City, get them down towards the south. Opening that humanitarian corridor. And right now they say that in the past days the Israeli army has helped evacuate 200,000 civilians from the area. Again, this comes into, it goes hand in hand with this statement of Hamas losing its grip on the northern Gaza Strip. Also, in conjunction with that, looking down the pike, the future, what we're hearing from Israel's prime minister, we heard that Israel would keep some sort of force, some security force inside Gaza in the long term when all the dust settles. We had understood that that force would eventually lead to the takeover of the Palestinian Authority running the show or the running things in Gaza. Now Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that the Palestinian Authority can't be tasked with that because they can't be trusted, because they have handed over funds and support to Hamas, as the Israel government says, terrorists. So there's another big question mark. If not the Palestinian Authority, who in the long term would be in charge of Gaza?
Prime Minister Netanyahu has warned Hezbollah not to get involved. Any updates between the two sides?
Well, the head of Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah, he gave his second speech since this all started a bit over a month ago, and that was yesterday, on Saturday. Vague terms, warnings, some would say rhetoric. What's interesting is that the Arab media channels did not carry Arabic language, didn't carry him live, where a week ago on Friday when he spoke, all eyes, including in Israel, were on that speech to find out if there would be indications that Hezbollah was going to broaden out the current attacks. Right now what you've got is volleys, mortar fire, anti-tank missiles, rockets that are coming from Hezbollah and Hamas in Lebanon, from Syria, and Israel is striking back, including last night, between overnight Saturday night, overnight striking back inside of both. That, people say, is not sustainable. Specifically, residents who used to live there who were evacuated, they're saying we're not going to live like that in the long term of volleys coming here and there and threatening our livelihoods. So there isn't an immediate threat of the front opening up in the north with Hezbollah, but the threat is there. I think it's important to note right now is that what people are talking about here, hostage deal, there are hints that there may be something in the works. Israel's keeping its proverbial cards close to the chest, not revealing, but there are strong hints of possibly 100 people, a hostage release of those being held by Hamas in Gaza as well. What we're seeing right now is an uptick in protests, again, in Israel, and those are calling on Israel's prime minister to resign, calling for impeachment of the prime minister because people largely feel, or many people feel, he's to blame for what happened here on October 7th. Protests by the families of the hostages that are being held. They're angry with the Red Cross for not getting any information about their families. They're angry with Israel's government. We're seeing more people taking to the streets, so that's internal unrest. Doesn't bode well in a state of war, but it is the reality of the situation here.